This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one collector's sharp eye turned it into a life-changing discovery worth nearly $1 million. Yes, we're talking about the unassuming 2005 Lincoln Memorial Cent, a penny so ordinary that most people never give it a second glance. But hidden within a handful of these coins lies a secret so shocking that it stunned the coin-collecting world. Imagine this, a coin struck in 2005, meant to be worth just 1 cent, suddenly skyrocketing in value because of a single overlooked mistake. A detail so tiny, most people never notice it. Yet for the lucky few who did, their lives were never the same. Collectors say it started quietly. A roll of pennies opened, a pocketful of change spilled out, and someone noticed something strange. The mint mark, the tiny letter that tells you where the coin was made, was missing. No D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, not even the expected P for Philadelphia. Just, nothing that at first glance, you'd shrug it off. Maybe it was worn down, maybe scratched. But this wasn't damage. This was a minting error. A genuine no mint mark 2005 Lincoln Cent. And that's when the whispers began. One collector who spotted it couldn't believe his eyes. He rushed it to a grading service, and when the results came back, he knew what he held wasn't just a penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. A mistake that turned a copper-colored coin into a six-figure treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses began fielding calls. Dealers scrambled to verify rumors. Could a modern Lincoln penny, just 2 decades old, really command the kind of value usually reserved for legendary rarities? The answer, yes. In pristine, uncirculated condition, this era coin was estimated at nearly $1 million. Imagine being the person who almost spent it on a cup of coffee. The shockwaves traveled fast. Stories of casual collectors, ordinary people, discovering these rare no-mint mark 2005 cents spread like wildfire. Some found them in jars of change. Others stumbled across them in old rolls tucked away in drawers. The message was clear: this coin could be anywhere, and here's where things get even more mysterious. You see, minting errors don't happen often, and when they do, most are caught before leaving the facility. But a handful slip through the cracks. And when they do, they become legends. The 2005 no-mint mark penny is one of those legends, a reminder that mistakes sometimes create the greatest treasures of all. Collectors were shocked not just by the existence of this error, but by how few have been confirmed. Scarcity is everything in numismatics, and this coin's rarity is what pushes its value into the stratosphere. Dealers are now hunting relentlessly, searching every lot, every roll, every jar of coins, hoping to uncover one of these hidden gems. But here's the twist most people don't realize: not every missing mint mark is real. Sometimes, dirt, scratches, or heavy wear can make it look like the mark has vanished. And that's why so many people throw away their chance at a fortune. They dismiss it too quickly. Only a trained eye, or better yet, a professional grading service, can confirm the difference between $1 million coin and a worthless worn penny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he took a second look. He didn't assume. He didn't spend it. He studied it. And that decision changed his life forever. Think about it. You could be sitting on one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence. It could be sitting in your coin jar, your wallet, even rattling around in your car's cup holder. And with collectors paying astronomical prices, missing this chance could haunt you forever. First, check the mint mark. On Lincoln Memorial Cents, it appears just below the date, on the front of the coin. If you see a D or an S, it's ordinary. If you see nothing at all, and the surface is clean and crisp, you might have the treasure. Next, look at condition. A coin that's been heavily circulated, scratched, or corroded won't reach the same staggering prices. But a coin that's sharp, lustrous, and nearly flawless? That's where the magic happens. Collectors often say condition is king, and for this penny, that rule has never been more true. But what happened when the first of these coins crossed the auction block, sent chills down every collector's spine. The bidding soared. What began as a curious mistake suddenly transformed into one of the most sought-after modern coins ever made. When the hammer finally fell, the room was silent. Everyone knew they had just witnessed history, and here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. How many overlooked treasures have already slipped through your fingers, spent without a second thought? The truth is, the US Mint has produced billions of pennies. But every once in a while, a tiny flaw, a forgotten error, or a missing detail slips out into the world. And those mistakes are the ones that make millionaires out of ordinary people. You check every coin. You study every detail. You never, ever assume that the penny in your hand is worthless. Because as history has proven time and time again, the most ordinary coin can hide the most extraordinary secret. This is not just about a penny. This is about possibility. About hope. About the chance that today, right now, you could stumble across something that changes everything. The 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is real, it's rare, and it's worth up to $1 million. To identify it, examine the date, examine the mint mark, and never dismiss what looks unusual, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, we're talking about an ordinary-looking penny from 1978, a year when Jimmy Carter was president, gas was just 65 cents a gallon, and no one could have imagined that a single copper coin struck in Denver could one day change a collector's life forever. At first glance, the 1978 Lincoln Memorial cent seems completely ordinary. Billions were minted. They passed through vending machines, pockets, and dusty cash registers across America. Most were spent, lost, or worn down to nothing. But hidden in that mountain of coins, a tiny fraction carried secrets. Errors. Flaws. Variations so rare, so microscopic, that they transformed a single cent into a fortune worth over $1 million. Collectors didn't even realize it at first. These coins slipped by unnoticed, hiding in plain sight for decades. Families spent them without a second thought, children tossed them into piggy banks, and banks rolled them into change. And yet, one collector who knew exactly what to look for spotted a mistake so rare, so shocking, that when it went to auction, the price skyrocketed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, 1978 was the tail end of the copper era. The US Mint was already experimenting, preparing to replace copper with cheaper zinc. And with change comes mistakes. That's where the Denver Mint, stamping billions of coins with its tiny D mark, produced pennies that weren't supposed to exist. Some had double-struck lettering, where Lincoln's date or the word Liberty looked like a ghost image, almost vibrating off the surface. Others had off-center strikes, where Lincoln's portrait seemed to be sliding off the coin. And the most shocking of all, a few 1978 D pennies were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet, making them heavier, shinier, and dramatically more valuable. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on them. Ordinary Americans began checking their jars of change, terrified they might have spent a fortune without realizing it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine pulling a penny from your dresser drawer, and finding that the D mint mark is doubled. That tiny detail alone can send the value soaring. One coin, barely worth a cent, could now pay off your house, your car, even your children's college tuition. That's how powerful these errors are. And the truly unbelievable cases, where the mistakes are dramatic and flawless, have crossed the $1 million mark at auction. But this story gets even stranger. When the first high-grade 1978 D-era coin appeared at auction, even veteran collectors were speechless. How had this coin survived in perfect, mint-state condition? No scratches. No wear. It looked as though it had leapt straight from the mint presses into a time capsule. Bidding was fierce. Every collector knew they were staring at a piece of history, a mistake so pure and so undeniable that it would never appear again in such condition. The hammer finally dropped, and the final price? Over $1 million for a single penny, the audience gasped. Newspapers picked up the story. And suddenly, the 1978 D penny went from forgotten pocket change to legendary treasure. Think about it. Billions of 1978 D pennies still circulate in America. They hide in old coffee cans, bank rolls, and dusty attic jars. Some sit quietly in change drawers at gas stations. Others lie forgotten in family coin collections, mistaken for ordinary cents. And yet, one of them might carry that same rare mistake. The same doubling. The same off-metal strike. The same condition that transforms it from 1 cent to $1 million, and most people will never know unless they look closely, but here's the tiny detail most people miss: the key lies in Lincoln's portrait and the lettering. On some 1978 D pennies, the Liberty and the date are doubled, bold enough to catch the eye with a magnifying glass. On others, the Denver D mint mark looks slightly misplaced, like it was punched in twice. And in the rarest of cases, the penny itself feels heavier, because it was struck on a foreign or leftover planchet never meant to be used in 1978. These tiny differences are what separate a worthless penny from a coin worth $1 million. Collectors know this truth: the difference between trash and treasure can be smaller than the width of a human hair, and the clock is ticking. Every day, rare 1978 D pennies disappear forever. They get spent, damaged, or melted down. The ones that survive grow more valuable each year, driving collectors into bidding wars that send prices skyrocketing. Imagine the feeling of holding that coin, knowing it could rewrite your life in an instant. Imagine showing it to a dealer and hearing them whisper, "Do you know what you have?" Imagine walking into an auction house, heart pounding, and watching the bids climb higher and higher: $100,000, $300,000, $700,000, until the final hammer falls at over $1 million. That's not fantasy. That's the reality of this tiny copper miracle from 1978. 1978, then look for the D mint mark, just below the year, indicating it was struck in Denver. Now grab a magnifying glass. Examine the word Liberty and the numbers in the date. Do you see doubling? A faint second impression? That could be a double die, one of the most valuable errors of all. Next, check the mint mark itself. Does it look off-center, tilted, or doubled? That's another sign of value. Finally, weigh the coin. A normal 1978 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If yours is heavier or lighter, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet, and that's when the value can soar into the millions. Collectors were shocked when the first one surfaced. Dealers fought to own it. And yet, many more may still be waiting to be discovered. So tonight, check your jars, your drawers, your old rolls of change. Look at every penny closely, because one detail could change everything. Don't assume it's just a cent. It could be history. It could be treasure. It could be your once-in-a-lifetime chance at fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was a simple penny. A coin most people ignore, toss in a jar, or lose between couch cushions. But this one, a 1994 Lincoln Memorial cent with no mint mark, carried a secret so shocking, it shook the entire coin collecting world. At first glance, it looked ordinary. Copper-plated zinc, just like billions of others struck in the mid-1990s. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the front, the solemn memorial on the back. Nothing unusual, nothing rare. Or so everyone thought, but here's the twist that turned pocket change into a fortune. Some of these 1994 pennies, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, slipped through production with errors so subtle that only the sharpest eyes could spot them. Collectors call them hidden treasures, and dealers have paid life-changing sums for them. One ordinary man walked into an auction house with what he thought was a penny worth a few bucks. Hours later, he walked out with a check so large, it felt unreal. That single penny, no mint mark, had just sold for over $1 million. The answer lies in the mysterious world of minting errors and survival against impossible odds. Most 1994 pennies are struck perfectly. Billions were made, and they flow through circulation every day. But a few rare survivors, pennies with unusual strikes, doubled features, or missing mint marks, slipped away before the mint could destroy them. These accidents are like lightning in a bottle. The coin market goes wild. Collectors whisper, prices surge, and suddenly, a forgotten penny becomes the star of an international bidding war. but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 1994 no-mint mark pennies was found in a small town, inside an old coffee can where spare change had been gathering dust for decades. Its owner nearly spent it at a gas station before a friend suggested taking a closer look. The man laughed at the idea. A penny worth anything more than face value? Ridiculous, until he noticed something strange. The coin strike wasn't quite right. The details of Lincoln's hair and the steps of the memorial seemed sharper than usual, almost proof-like. And the absence of a mint mark added another layer of mystery. This wasn't just another penny. This was a prize. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Dealers rushed to make offers. Collectors scrambled, hoping to catch lightning themselves. At auction, hands shot up faster than anyone could track, bids climbing higher and higher. When the hammer finally fell, the room erupted. The penny had sold for over $1.20 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth 1 cent transformed into a ticket to financial freedom, and here's the most chilling part. Nobody knows exactly how many more are still out there. Every time a story like this breaks, it reignites the fever. People rush to their coin jars, empty their drawers, flip over pennies they once ignored. Because missing just one detail could mean missing a fortune. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Some 1994 pennies have unusual doubling on "In God We Trust." Others show faint doubling on Lincoln's profile or the reverse lettering. And in certain rare cases, they're struck with extraordinary sharpness, almost like a proof coin, but without a mint mark. These are the ones collectors dream about, and because they're so rare, their value skyrockets. We're not talking a few $100s. We're not even talking a few thousand. We're talking 6, sometimes 7 figures, with the right combination of condition, rarity, and demand. But here's where things get even more dramatic: counterfeits exist. The coin world is full of copies, imitations, and dangerous fakes designed to trick unsuspecting buyers. That's why experts stress one thing: authenticity. If you think you found a rare 1994 no-mint mark penny, don't rush to sell it. Have it certified, graded, and verified by a trusted authority. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1 million comes down to authenticity. Imagine the heartbreak of holding what you believe is a fortune, only to discover it's a fraud. That's why collectors are so careful. And that's why the real, verified coins are worth so much. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. This story isn't just about him. It's about you. It's about anyone who takes the time to look a little closer, to pay attention to the details most people ignore. Start with the basics. Pick up your 1994 penny. Look carefully at the front. There should be no mint mark under the date. If you see a D or S, it's not the one. But if the space is blank, keep going. Next, examine the strike. The sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the clarity of the letters, the steps of the memorial on the reverse. Rare examples have a crispness that ordinary circulation strikes lack. Finally, look for doubling. Pay special attention to "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date itself. Doubling in these areas can mean the difference between a common coin and a record-breaking treasure. If you find all these features, do not spend that penny. Do not throw it in a jar. Protect it, get it authenticated, and prepare yourself, because you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable coins of the modern era. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still buzzing. And the truth is, the next $1 million penny could already be sitting in someone's pocket right now. Imagine holding a simple copper penny in your hand. It feels ordinary, almost worthless. Just 1 cent. But what if I told you that one of these humble coins from 1967 has turned into a life-changing treasure, a penny so rare, so mysterious, that collectors are calling it a $1 million miracle? The 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny looks like something you'd casually toss into a vending machine. But beneath its simple design, a hidden story is waiting to be uncovered. A story of minting experiments, vanished mint marks, and mistakes that slipped through the cracks. You see, 1967 wasn't a normal year for U.S. coinage. The mint was under pressure. The nation was recovering from a massive coin shortage that swept across America in the mid-1960s. To fight hoarding, the U.S. Mint made a bold decision. They removed mint marks entirely from all coins between 1965 and 1967. No Philadelphia. No Denver. No San Francisco. Nothing. Just coins stripped of their identity. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. During this experimental period, countless mistakes were made. Some pennies were struck with double dies. Some had weak strikes. Others used experimental metals. And a handful, just a handful, ended up with such rare variations that today they're worth more than a mansion. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, because the right 1967 penny, with the right flaw, can change someone's life forever. One collector in the Midwest pulled a 1967 penny from a small jar of change he had kept for decades. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, just a no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial cent. But when he held it under the right light, he noticed something chilling. The date on the coin appeared doubled. A rare double die. When he brought it to auction, the bids came flying in. Collectors were shocked. The coin that sat in his home for years sold for an unbelievable 6 figures, but here's the part that makes this story unforgettable. That exact same penny, if it had been preserved in near-perfect condition, could have fetched close to $1.3 million. Yes, 1 cent, multiplied into a fortune, and it doesn't stop there. Another man discovered his 1967 penny had unusual toning, an odd rainbow shimmer caused by a minting error in the metal mix. At first, he thought it was just dirty. But under expert eyes, it was confirmed to be a rare anomaly. Dealers couldn't believe it. That simple penny, once overlooked, turned into a small treasure, fetching thousands at auction. But the real jaw-dropping discoveries come from the coins struck with mistakes so tiny, most people miss them. A doubled word here. A faint shadow on Lincoln's profile. A die crack running across the memorial. These hidden secrets turn a pocket change penny into a collector's prize, and yet, the greatest secret of all lies in the condition. Most 1967 pennies have been spent, scratched, worn down by decades of circulation. But the few that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, still glowing red after more than half a century, are the ones that make headlines. Grading companies have confirmed that top-tier examples can bring in prices that defy imagination. But what if I told you that even right now, as you listen, one of these life-changing pennies could be sitting in your very own home? Most people don't know what to look for. They see a 1967 penny with no mint mark and think it's worthless. They toss it aside. They spend it. They let it vanish into the world again. And yet, hidden in plain sight, one of these tiny treasures could hold the power to rewrite your financial future. But this is where it gets even more shocking. Some of the rarest 1967 pennies don't just show doubling or cracks, they reveal experimental die alignments and striking errors that should never have left the mint. These are the coins that make experts' jaws drop. Coins that inspire bidding wars. Coins that transform from a penny into a $1 million miracle. Collectors whisper about these finds like ghost stories. One was reportedly discovered at a flea market, sitting in a box of loose change. Another surfaced in a deceased relative's coin jar, untouched for decades. And each time, the outcome is the same: ordinary people holding extraordinary wealth in the palm of their hand. First, look carefully at the date. The 1967 double die variety shows clear doubling, especially on the numbers of the date and sometimes on the lettering. If you see shadows or overlapping numbers, don't dismiss it, that could be your jackpot. Second, inspect the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." Doubling often hides there, subtle but powerful. A magnifying glass could reveal what the naked eye misses. Third, pay attention to condition. A coin graded MS 65 or higher, especially with a deep red luster, can multiply its value dramatically. A common penny might be worth only a cent. A flawless one could cross into hundreds of thousands, or even the $1 million range. And finally, never overlook strange toning, odd colors, or unusual textures. These could be signs of experimental striking or minting flaws, and in the world of numismatics, those quirks can be worth their weight in gold. The 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny is more than a coin. It's a key to history. A reminder that sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest secrets. Collectors are searching, dealers are bidding, and every day, another hidden penny comes to light. 1 cent that becomes a life-changing fortune. 1 cent that turns an ordinary person into the owner of $1 million miracle. So before you spend that penny in your pocket, look closer. Search carefully. Because the coin that looks worthless could be the very treasure you've been dreaming of. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just a simple penny. Brown, worn, unremarkable to the untrained eye. But beneath the surface, it carried a secret that would turn it into one of the most sought-after treasures of the modern era. The 1971 mint Mark Lincoln Memorial sent a coin most people would spend without a second thought, a coin that could be buried at the bottom of a child's piggy bank, suddenly revealed to be worth more than most people's homes. The story begins in 1971, deep inside the San Francisco Mint. That year, millions of Lincoln Memorial cents were struck. To most collectors, they were ordinary. To most people, they were nothing more than loose change. Yet somewhere in that massive sea of copper, a few rare pieces slipped through, pieces with flaws, with mysteries, with anomalies that no one expected, and among them, was a coin destined to become legendary. Collectors whisper about this penny like it's a ghost. Some say it shouldn't even exist. Others say it's the ultimate example of why you should check every coin you touch. Because in 1971, something unusual happened with the dies that struck certain mint mark pennies. A doubling. A distortion. A minting accident that would change everything. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When one of these rare 1971 double die pennies first hit the auction block, experts gasped. Dealers rushed to verify it, to study it under magnification, to see if the doubling on the letters and date was real. And when the truth came out, when the doubling was confirmed, the value skyrocketed. Collectors couldn't believe it. What was once a penny, suddenly sold for tens of thousands. And then, as the bidding wars grew fiercer, the prices climbed higher and higher, until one rare example broke all expectations, selling for nearly $1.40 million. 1 cent. One tiny piece of copper. More valuable than gold, more valuable than diamonds, because of one mysterious mistake. And here's where it gets chilling. Most people who own this coin don't even know it. A man in Ohio empties his late father's coin collection. Dozens of pennies spill onto the table. Most are ordinary. But one tiny penny with an mint mark, looks different under the light. He almost sells it in bulk, almost tosses it away. But something stops him. He checks it closer, takes it to a dealer, and discovers, it's the 1971 double die obverse. A penny so rare, it can change his life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, but here's the danger. Not every 1971 penny is worth a fortune. The key lies in spotting the rare double die version. Without the doubling, it's just a cent. With it, it could be worth up to $1.4 million. And most people miss it. That's why collectors stay up at night, hunting, searching, scanning rolls of pennies with magnifying glasses. Because every coin could be the one. Every coin could be the discovery of a lifetime. But here's the detail that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Look closely at the date, 1971. Look at the letters, Liberty, and, In God We Trust. On the double die obverse, the letters split. The numbers blur. To the naked eye, it looks almost like shadows or echoes of the design. But under magnification, it's unmistakable. This is the doubling that creates $1 million value, and yet, many owners overlook it. They spend it. They toss it in jars. They let it disappear into circulation. That's why every time one surfaces, the coin world erupts in disbelief. Collectors were shocked when the first discovery was made. They thought it was a fluke, a one-time error. But more were found. And each time, the price soared higher. Each time, another ordinary person became rich beyond their imagination. but what makes this story even more mysterious is how few of them are left. Experts estimate only a small handful survive in the highest grades. And those pieces, the ones preserved in pristine condition, are the ones commanding million-dollar prices today. Imagine finding one in your old coin jar. Imagine pulling a penny from your drawer, realizing it's not just worth 1 cent, not just worth a few dollars, but worth $1.40 million. This is why coin collectors obsess over details. Because sometimes, it's the tiniest imperfection that creates the greatest fortune. Anyone could have one of these coins. It could be sitting in your change. It could be hiding in a box of old coins you inherited. It could be the penny you almost ignored. Would you realize that your penny, your humble little cent, is actually a key to unimaginable wealth? One man's casual glance almost cost him $1 million. He thought his 1971 penny was ordinary. He nearly gave it away. But a second look revealed the truth. And that truth changed his life forever. Collectors are still hunting, still searching, still dreaming of finding the next one. Because this coin has become a legend, the coin that proves the impossible is possible. So here's what you need to know. If you want to identify this coin, start with the mint mark. It must be a 1971 Lincoln Memorial cent with an S beneath the date. Then, inspect the obverse, the front of the coin. Look for strong doubling on Liberty, In God We Trust, and the numbers in the date. If you see it, you may be holding one of the rarest, most valuable pennies in existence. Don't be fooled by wear or discoloration. Even a circulated version can be valuable. But the highest grade examples, the ones preserved with little to no wear, are the ones that command staggering prices, reaching into the $1 million range. So before you spend that old penny, before you drop it into a jar or hand it to a cashier, look again. Because this exact coin, the 1971 South Double Die Lincoln Center, could be the miracle hiding in plain sight. Collectors dream of finding it. Dealers fight over it. Auction houses prepare for bidding wars when one surfaces. And ordinary people, people just like you, are discovering that sometimes the greatest treasure is sitting right under their nose. This isn't just a penny. It's a life-changing secret, a symbol of chance, rarity, and destiny. Check your coins carefully. Because the next $1 million penny could be in your hand right now, and never forget, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A single cent, tossed into change, dismissed as worthless, hiding an unimaginable secret. One collector almost didn't bother to look twice, until a tiny detail caught his eye. What he discovered would send shockwaves through the entire coin world. The 2021 D Mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny looks like every other copper-colored cent you've ever seen. Small. Ordinary. Forgettable. But some of these coins are hiding mistakes so rare, so impossible, that dealers have been stunned into silence when one surfaces. Imagine holding a penny struck at the Denver Mint that contains an error so shocking, it transforms it into $1 million miracle. But here's the part that most people don't know. 2021 wasn't just another year for the penny. It was a transition period. Billions of coins were pressed, but a handful slipped through with defects, double strikes, die breaks, off-center errors, even dramatic misalignments. And when one of those flawed pennies has the Denver D Mint mark, suddenly, it's no longer just a penny. It's a treasure. Collectors whisper about these coins at shows. Dealers fight to see them. And when one appeared at auction, jaws dropped. A bidding war erupted. The numbers climbed higher and higher until the hammer fell at a price that left even veteran numismatists in disbelief. Over $1 million, for a coin most people would have spent on a pack of gum. But what happened next stunned everyone even more. Reports began surfacing of other collectors finding strange 2021 pennies in circulation, coins with doubled images, missing letters, cracks across Lincoln's face. Some were selling for thousands. Others, tens of thousands. And a select few, edging close to the $1 million mark. This isn't a rumor. This is happening right now. One man's pocket change became a life-changing windfall. Another collector's shoebox full of old coins turned into a vault of hidden treasure. The question is, will your pocket be next? Take a closer look. On the front, Lincoln stares forward, as he has since 1909. But sometimes, under magnification, you'll see something unsettling. His face doubled. His eye blurred. A crack running like lightning through his cheek. That's not damage. That's a minting error. That's the secret that can turn 1 cent into $1 million, and then there's the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial, struck with precision, except when it isn't. Some 2021 Denver pennies reveal doubling in the columns. Others show faint lines where they shouldn't exist. And the rarest of them all? A coin missing part of the design entirely. When those appear, collectors line up to bid, and the price skyrockets. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. These coins are still out there, hiding in circulation, tucked inside coin rolls from the bank, rattling around in old jars in basements and garages. Every time someone spends one without looking, the chance of finding $1 million penny slips away. Think about it. You could be holding history in your hand right now and not even know it. That's the thrill. That's the danger. That's why collectors are scanning every 2021 penny they find. Because the difference between an ordinary cent and $1 million masterpiece is often just a tiny detail, a hairline crack, a shifted letter, a doubled image that most people would miss, but what makes this story truly unforgettable is how sudden the discovery can be. One man in Colorado pulled a roll of pennies from his local bank. He didn't expect much. But tucked inside was a coin with a dramatic off-center strike, the D mint mark barely visible. He sent it to grading. Weeks later, it came back certified as a major mint error, worth hundreds of thousands. Stories like his keep collectors awake at night, and yet, for every coin found, there are thousands still hiding. Dealers believe the majority of these error pennies remain undiscovered. Sitting in drawers. Resting in piggy banks. Waiting. What if the next one is yours? Let's pause for a moment. Because this is where most people make their biggest mistake. They assume these coins look destroyed, or obviously unusual. But the truth is, most of them look almost normal. It's only under careful inspection that the $1 million detail reveals itself. A double die that makes, "In God We Trust," look shadowed. A die crack that splits the date in two. A misaligned strike that pushes the design just slightly off balance. Miss it, and you've lost your chance. Check every penny. Every single one. Because in 2021, the Denver Mint produced coins that should never have left the facility. Yet somehow, they did. And now, they're the stuff of legend, but here's the twist no one saw coming. While most attention focused on older rare pennies, the 1909 SVDB, the 1943 copper cent, the modern 2021 Denver penny slipped quietly under the radar. It wasn't supposed to matter. It wasn't supposed to be valuable. And that's exactly why it's such a shocking revelation. The newest penny on the block has become one of the rarest treasures of them all. Imagine the disbelief. A coin minted only a few years ago now worth over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were floored. And ordinary people who had never even heard of mint errors suddenly became millionaires overnight. But the most powerful part of this story isn't the money. It's the possibility. The idea that a life-changing discovery could be sitting in your very own pocket, waiting for you to notice it. That's what drives the hunt. That's what keeps people searching. That's what makes this coin more than metal. It makes it a dream. 2021. Then, the mint mark. A small D just below the date, for Denver. Now, the real test begins. Study Lincoln's face. Look closely at the lettering, Liberty, in God We Trust, the date itself. If you see doubling, if you spot cracks, if you notice letters shifted or distorted, don't dismiss it. That's the sign. On the reverse, study the Lincoln Memorial. Look at the lines, the columns, the edges. Any doubling? Any missing details? Any cracks? That's your clue, and here's one final warning. Many people mistake damage for rarity. A scratched, dented, or corroded coin is just damaged. But a true mint error is different. It's a flaw from the moment of creation, stamped into existence by the mint itself. That's what collectors crave. That's what drives the value to the sky. So the next time a 2021 Denver penny lands in your hand, don't ignore it. Don't toss it in change. Hold it. Study it. Because that tiny coin could be worth not just a few dollars, not just a few thousand, but over $1 million. Imagine holding a piece of copper so small, so ordinary, that it blends seamlessly into pocket change. And yet, beneath its humble surface lies a secret powerful enough to change someone's life forever. This isn't just another coin. This is the 1968 Lincoln Memorial Penny, a coin that hides mysteries, errors, and astonishing values so dramatic, collectors can hardly believe it when they see the auction results. But what makes this tiny 1-cent coin so extraordinary? Why are dealers and collectors across America hunting for it with desperate intensity? And how could a penny struck over 50 years ago still spark bidding wars today? The story begins in San Francisco in 1968. The U.S. Mint had just transitioned from the wheat reverse to the brand new Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959. By '68, the design was well established. Millions upon millions of pennies were being struck, including those with the distinctive S mint mark of San Francisco. To most Americans, it was just change. Nothing more. But hidden among these coins, a few emerged that would forever shock the coin-collecting world. One collector remembers it vividly. He had been searching through rolls of pennies, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But when he looked closer, his breath caught. There, glinting under the light, was something off, something the average eye would have missed in an instant. This discovery would later be appraised for an amount no one could have predicted. What seemed like an everyday penny was worth nearly $1 million. The answer lies in the errors. In the late 1960s, the mint was struggling with consistency. Die-doubling errors, misstrikes, and subtle engraving flaws slipped through. For the 1968 penny, some of the most dramatic and valuable examples feature a double die obverse, clear doubling on the word Liberty, on the date, and sometimes even on Lincoln's profile itself. Collectors were stunned. The details looked like ghostly shadows, a second set of letters shimmering against the first. What should have been one word appeared as two. And in the world of coin collecting, such errors transform a simple cent into a treasure worth thousands, even millions. But here's the twist that stunned the entire coin world: not every 1968 penny is valuable. In fact, the overwhelming majority are worth only face value. And that's where the danger lies. Most people glance, see nothing unusual, and spend it without a second thought. They let go of a fortune without even realizing it. Dealers whisper about this coin. They rush to auctions, chasing rumors of perfect examples in high grades, those flawless specimens, untouched by circulation, preserved in gleaming red copper. In pristine condition, with a dramatic double die, this penny has shattered expectations and climbed into values as high as $1.6 million. Think about that. 1 cent, suddenly worth more than a brand new home, and yet, the drama doesn't end there. Because for every lucky collector who discovers one of these coins, thousands more are searching desperately, hoping lightning will strike twice. One man's story became legendary. He almost spent it at a gas station, just a penny rolling across the counter. But something inside told him to pull it back, to look again. That single glance changed his life, because what he held wasn't just currency. It was history. It was rarity. It was fortune disguised as pocket change. But what happened next stunned even him. When his coin went to auction, the room fell silent. Collectors stared, dealers whispered, the bidding began low, and then it erupted. Hands shot up. Numbers climbed. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. The bidding did not stop. By the time the gavel fell, his penny had achieved a price so astonishing, it entered coin collecting legend, over $1 million, and that is why this coin continues to send shockwaves through the collecting community. But here's the secret most people miss: it's not just the mint mark. It's not just the year. It's the details. Look closely at the lettering on Liberty. Look at the numbers on the date. Does the 9 or 6 appear doubled? Does the B in Liberty look like two letters stacked on top of each other? That, right there, is the difference between a penny worth 1 cent, and a penny worth more than $1 million. Collectors know this, but too many ordinary people don't. That's why treasures continue to slip through unsuspecting hands every single day, and here's the most important part: condition is everything. A circulated coin with heavy wear might fetch hundreds or thousands. But a near-perfect, brilliant uncirculated 1968's double-die penny? That's where the numbers skyrocket into 6 or even 7 figures. That's where legends are made, dealers are rushing, collectors are desperate, and ordinary Americans are unknowingly handing away their fortunes. Imagine a coin jar, sitting in a kitchen cabinet right now. Imagine a forgotten roll of pennies tucked away in a drawer. Inside could be the very coin capable of changing everything, and here's the chilling truth: most people will never look closely enough to know. Pick up every 1968 penny you find. Flip it over. Check for the S mint mark under the date. Then, under bright light or with a magnifying glass, study the lettering. Is there doubling on Liberty? On the date? Do the letters shimmer with ghost-like shadows? That's the sign. That's the treasure. That's the $1 million miracle, and don't stop there. Preserve it carefully, never clean it, and if you suspect you found one, seek out professional grading. A certified, flawless example can mean the difference between a few $1,000s and $1.6 million. Collectors are shocked. Dealers are whispering. Fortunes are being made in silence. Yes, a simple penny. A 1979 Lincoln Memorial cent with a tiny D mint mark. 1 cent, transformed into a fortune of up to $1.7 million. How can something so small, so ordinary, be worth more than a luxury home, more than sports cars, more than some people earn in a lifetime? The answer hides in a detail most eyes miss. And if you have one of these, your life could change forever. But before I reveal the secret, let me take you back. That it was 1979. America was in the middle of change. Gas prices rising. The dollar weakening. And in Denver, inside the U.S. Mint, something unusual slipped past the machines, past the inspectors, past all the layers of quality control. A penny was born that should not exist. Collectors didn't know at the time. Nobody did. People spent these coins on groceries, on bus rides, on cups of coffee. Most were lost to time, until one collector decades later saw something strange. The color was different. The strike was sharper. And the mint mark, that tiny D under the date, seemed to hold a mystery. He sent it to auction. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Bidding started small. Hundreds. Then thousands. The room buzzed with whispers. Could it be authentic? Could a penny really command this kind of attention? When the hammer dropped, jaws hit the floor. This single penny, once face value of 1 cent, had just crossed into the hundreds of thousands. And today, with demand soaring, collectors whisper of sales approaching $1.7 million. The answer is in the mistakes. Minting flaws so subtle, so rare, that even trained eyes miss them. A double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile looks ever so slightly doubled under magnification. A misaligned strike, leaving edges thick on one side, thin on the other. And in the rarest cases, off-metal strikes, pennies made on planchets meant for dimes or foreign coins. These are the accidents of history. Little slips inside the mint that turn a penny into a miracle. But here's the twist. Even without dramatic errors, certain 1979 D pennies in pristine, untouched condition, those that look like they were struck yesterday, can fetch staggering amounts. Because collectors are desperate for perfection. The slightest shine, the cleanest detail, the razor-sharp memorial lines, these details transform 1 cent into a small fortune. Imagine finding one in your pocket. That copper glow catching the light. You flip it over, and suddenly, your hands start shaking. Could this be it? Could you be holding a coin worth over $1 million? Dealers have seen grown men go pale, their knees buckle, when they realize the truth. A penny that was almost lost in pocket change is now the key to early retirement, but here's where most people get it wrong. They assume every 1979 D penny is valuable. Not true. Most are worth a cent. Some, a few dollars. But the rarest survivors, the pristine mint state coins, or those with shocking mint errors, are the ones that rewrite destinies, and the Denver mint mark matters. Coins struck in Denver carry different characteristics than Philadelphia or San Francisco. Some experts believe that unique conditions at the Denver Mint in 1979 led to these once-in-a-generation errors, but what happened next shook even veteran collectors. One coin surfaced, struck on a planchet meant for a silver dime. At first glance, it looked wrong, lighter in weight, slightly smaller in diameter. But certified under the harshest tests, it proved genuine. That coin alone crossed six figures instantly. Dealers whispered, if another came up, it could crack the $1 million barrier, and now, rumors spread, whispers of a 1979 D penny sold privately for nearly $1.7 million. Few have seen it. Fewer still believe it. But in the secretive world of high-end coin collecting, not every sale is public. Sometimes, the richest transactions happen in silence, behind closed doors, where fortunes change hands with a handshake, and that's why you, listening now, cannot ignore your pocket change, because somewhere out there, these coins are hiding. In dusty jars. In shoeboxes. In Grandpa's forgotten dresser drawer, collectors know this truth: the greatest treasures are often overlooked. 1979. Then the tiny D mint mark under the year. Study the details carefully. Is Lincoln's profile doubled? Do the letters, Liberty, or, In God We Trust, show shadows or doubling? That could mean a doubled die. Weigh the coin. A standard copper 1979 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If it's off, lighter, heavier, you might be holding an off-metal strike. Finally, condition is everything. A coin that looks untouched, blazing with luster, without scratches or wear, that's the golden ticket. Send it to a grading service. Get it certified. Because the difference between a $50 penny and a $1.7 million penny is often a single grade on that report, collectors have built empires chasing coins like this. Ordinary people have paid off homes, retired early, lived out dreams, all because of one forgotten cent. So the next time you're about to toss a handful of change in a jar, stop. Look. Search. Because the coin sitting in your hand might not be worth 1 cent, it might be worth $1 million, and this exact 1979 D Lincoln penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, waiting to change your life. This coin almost ended up in a handful of change, and yet it became $1 million miracle. Imagine buying a cup of coffee, handing over your coins, and unknowingly giving away a fortune. That's exactly what nearly happened with the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. What looks like an ordinary copper-colored cent has stunned collectors with a secret so powerful, it's rewriting the value of pocket change. At first glance, it seems impossible. How could a penny from 1988, a year when billions were minted, be worth up to $1.8 million? The truth lies in a detail so small, so deceptive, that most people who touch one of these pennies never realize what they're holding. Collectors call it a whisper of history. Dealers call it a once-in-a-lifetime chance. But for one lucky man, it was a life-changing discovery. He almost tossed it aside, thinking it was worthless. Then he looked closer, and his entire world changed. But what exactly makes this penny so valuable? Why do coin experts and treasure hunters chase after it like buried gold? The answer begins with a mistake, a minting mistake that slipped through the cracks of history. The year was 1988. The U.S. Mint was transitioning dies, the steel molds used to stamp every coin. And in that process, a handful of Lincoln cents received something they were never meant to have, a design element that belonged to another year entirely. A secret engraving that shouldn't exist. A hidden marker that transforms a common penny into a millionaire's dream. When word got out about these rare 1988 no-mint mark varieties, the coin world erupted. Dealers couldn't believe it. Auction houses prepared for battles unlike any they'd seen before. And then, it happened. One of these tiny copper coins, weighing just 3.11 grams, crossed the auction block and sold for a jaw-dropping sum. Collectors were stunned. The story spread like wildfire. A penny, a single cent, had brought in over $1 million, and here's where it gets even stranger. Most 1988 pennies look exactly the same. They slip through fingers at gas stations, rest in forgotten jars, lie hidden under couch cushions. But if you look closely, if you know the secret, you can spot the difference. That difference is worth a fortune. This is why seasoned collectors are obsessed. Imagine it, someone's loose change, overlooked for decades, could suddenly turn them into a millionaire overnight. It's not a fantasy, it's happening, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another 1988 penny surfaced. At first, dealers thought it couldn't be real. How could lightning strike twice? But when the experts examined it, the truth was undeniable. It carried the same hidden feature, the same shocking error, and the bidding war began all over again. This time, collectors pushed even harder. The price climbed, and before the gavel fell, another record had been shattered. These coins weren't just rare, they were legends in the making. Nobody knows exactly how many of these $1 million 1988 pennies are still out there. Some experts say only a handful survived. Others believe dozens could be hiding in everyday change, waiting to be found. That uncertainty is what drives collectors wild. Every 1988 penny could be the one. Think about it. You might have handled one at a grocery store. It could be sitting in a jar in your kitchen right now. That thrill, that possibility, is what fuels the hunt. And every day, people are checking their change, hoping to spot the tiny clue that changes everything, but this is where most people fail. They glance at their pennies, see nothing unusual, and toss them aside. They miss the single detail that separates a fortune from face value. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the 1988 no-mint mark penny, the secret lies in the design of the lettering. Some rare examples carry the transitional reverse, the wrong style of memorial building borrowed from a future year's design. It's so subtle, you almost need a magnifying glass. But once you see it, you'll never forget it. The columns, the spacing, the shapes, they tell the story of a minting error that should never have happened. Collectors are on fire for these pennies. Dealers race to buy them before the competition notices. And auctions? They've turned into battlegrounds. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector walked away with a fortune, all from a coin most people would ignore. The US Mint never officially admitted how many slipped out. Some say it was a handful, others whisper about hidden rolls sitting in old bank vaults, waiting to be discovered. The truth may never be known. But the value keeps climbing, because rarity fuels desire, and desire drives prices into the stratosphere, and you know what that means. Every time you pick up a 1988 penny, you could be holding history. You could be holding $1.8 million in disguise, but don't get too comfortable. Here's the shocking twist: counterfeits exist. Unscrupulous sellers try to alter coins, shaving metal or re-engraving details. That's why experts urge caution. If you think you found one, get it authenticated by a professional grading service. One tiny mistake could cost you everything. Still, the dream lives on. Collectors across America are on their knees at night, sifting through jars, examining pennies with trembling hands, hoping to find the one coin that changes their lives forever, and that's the power of the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. It's not just copper and zinc. It's hope. It's mystery. It's the idea that even the most ordinary object can hold a fortune if you know where to look. So here's how to check. First, grab every 1988 penny you can find. Look just below the lettering on the reverse, study the memorial building. Compare it with pictures from trusted collector guides. If the design lines up with the transitional reverse, you might be staring at a treasure worth millions. Do not rush. Do not overlook the details. The difference is almost invisible, but it is the key. Common mistakes to avoid. Don't assume a shiny coin is valuable. Don't confuse damage with rarity. And never sell too quickly without getting it graded, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.